Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. After Giannis Antetokounmpo early exit from the playoffs by the hands of the Miami Heat, the Greek freak made a controversial statement during his post-game interview. Joe Budden and the crew had an interesting take on this.
I don't see it. But that game was great.
Series.
Yeah, definitely. Tell me about what y'all think of Greek Freak's post-game press conference interview that everybody was talking about, where Eric, the reporter, said, "Do you view this season as a failure?" Greek Freak had enough of it. He said, "You asked me this last year."
He stewed on that. That was one of them. He took a shower the next day and was like, "I should have said." And then he had this for the next year to plot his retort.
What he looked like to me was, you know, they see these reporters all year long, and some of them you got a relationship with, you're cool with. He looked like not you, or you know the reporter. He looked like it was not you, or this is the reporter, and today I'm going to tell him something. What do you think of what he said, though, in terms of as far as there's no failing in sports?
He's right and he's wrong.
I see both sides.
Yeah, he's right.
And I've heard both sides. I've heard Stephen A. Smith go against Jay Will, and I also heard Shaq go against Kenny Smith. I see both sides. If you set out, and I hear athletes say this, I'm not a professional athlete, but a lot of athletes say championship or bust. A lot of athletes say basically if you don't win a championship, then your season was a bust. I've heard them say that. I can't speak to their mentality, but I saw both sides. Shaq said basically if you in that position, y'all number one seed, if you don't win the championship, y'all failed.
And that's why it's a failure. It'd be one thing if you're a team that's up and coming, like the Knicks, for example. If they were to go out in the next round, which I don't think they will, you would still say this season is a success. We have built something. We're building up to something. The Bucks have won a championship. They've been a top 5 team for the past however many years. For them to go out in the first round is a failure.
The people in Milwaukee going to hate me. I always thought that they was fool's gold. Always.
I wasn't too hyped on them.
I was scared of them healthy.
Really good team, though.
But that chip. Let me shut up.
I think it's based on what your expectations are. You get what I'm saying? Like, so if you exceed your expectations, then niggas don't look at it like that. But if you underachieve, then people look at you like you failed.
And I'll also look at it as whatever you did. Like, if you improved on last year, I don't see it as a failure. Whatever you got. Like, last year we didn't make the playoffs. This year we made it. Season's not a failure. Like, we've improved.
Yeah.
As long as you've made steps to get better, I don't look at it as a failure.
I felt like his statement was mainly just was about growth, you know.
But they didn't grow.
Yeah,
so that's where he's wrong.
Yeah, to him.
Yes, that's why it can be looked at both ways.
Yeah. For some people, his statement is absolutely right. For that team, his statement is not right.
It resonated with who it was supposed to. It's gonna be one of those things that's added to reels. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Somebody would have said, "Yo, if you ask Kobe Bryant that question, we already know what the answer is going to be. If you ask Michael Jordan that question, you already know what the answer is going to be." So the greats look at it in the manner of, yo, either we won or we didn't, and if we didn't, we failed.
So that wasn't champion talk.
But the greats are also psychotic in the head.
True. But that's what
So
makes
that
them
may
great.
not be how the rest of the world is.
True.
What's
your stance?
I agree with Greek Freak.
So if the Joe Budden podcast fell to 10th for the next 6 months, you wouldn't
I
come
can't hear
in.
what you said. If we did what?
If the Joe Budden podcast went to 10th, went to 7th, went to 5th for the next 6 months, you wouldn't come in here and act like, yo, we failing? I disagree.
Well, you can't, because I kind of went through that. Like, it's kind of happened. Like, when y'all first came, and I'm not making this podcast review time, but when y'all first came, I viewed it as we in the middle of a rebuild.
True.
The fans were holding that team and that rebuilding process up against old crew at its peak, greatest in the world. They would look at that and say, "Oh, this is a failure. You have regressed. You have went." Yeah, they did.
They did.
I'm saying, but I just look at that as apples.
I looked at it as, give me the same amount of time with this squad, and I think that we have the potential to be better than ever.
I think
that was my psychotic brain. So I agree with Greek Freak. If in the process of the loss, you pick something up that's going to further you next year or later or in that other championship, then that's a win.
Hopefully.
Then that's a win. I think anything else would be short-sighted.
I think it's apples and oranges. That particular analogy that you just gave, because it's like saying if Greek Freak and Bledsoe got hurt, then you can't hold them to the same stick that you held them to healthy. You understand what I'm saying? So with the Joe Budden podcast, when you can't hold me and Ice New walking in the door to the same stick that you held the old podcast to.
Sure you can.
But
teams be a whole new team. This Bucks team ain't the same as last year's Bucks team.
The core of the Bucks team is the same.
But it's not the same Bucks team.
All right, you win. So I just think that the assessment, I see both sides of that argument. I just see both sides of the argument. I think what he said was really humbling. I think he's an amazing guy. And I think that the analogy that he gave was a good one when he said Michael Jordan lost some championships, won some championships. The seasons that he didn't win championships, was he a failure? No. That was his stance. But I think if you ask Michael Jordan, he might say yes.
I was about to say, he might not have looked at it as a failure, but he could say, we as a team, we failed this year. We didn't get it done. Like, they go into, the goal is the championship. That's what they go into the season, at game one of the season. We want to be there at the end holding up the trophy.
And as a fan, I don't want to see my team being like, oh, no, it's cool. I don't want to see that from my team. Yeah. Unless there was a mitigating situation, someone major got injured, something like that.
It's just old school. And we can move on. But I like that these new age guys don't put all the stock in the world on the championship like the niggas in the 80s and 90s did.
I do too.
It's way more to do. It's way more to life. This is a structure that y'all didn't come up with. This is them on their capitalistic in a way to make the most money that they can every single year. I'm not with players devoting life or death, their life, to this man-made over here. Get this the fuck out of here.
See, that reminds
Dame Lillard, Carmelo, Chris Paul. There's a lot of players that never won, that just speak to their love, passion of the game, and how much they learned and took from the game. I'm not calling people fair. I look at Charles Barkley every day on that screen. Never won, but I know about Charles Barkley. You can't shit on Charles Barkley. Like, he could go to bed feeling like he maybe should have got one, but nigga, you ran in the mic.
I don't hold that against players.
Me either.
Career-wise, at all. If it didn't happen, it didn't happen.
There's a lot of great players.
But like you said, if you're the one seed this year, and y'all went out in the first round, I don't care, bro. That's a failed season.
I'm with you on that.
I don't care.
Now, as exciting as that Bucks Heat game wasn't my most exciting number one seed upset. And this is between, of course, Denver and Seattle, 94, the Warriors, and the Mavs.
Yeah. That was the one for me.
That was the one.
That was the one.
BD, Al Jefferson.
Crazy.
That was the one.
Steve Jackson.
Them three. They was going crazy.
Al Jefferson, Al Harrington.
They said Miami is the first team to be the 8.
Matt Barnes.
And upset the 1, and also be the 1 and got upset by the 8. Like, they come up.
Miami got upset by the 8?
Alonzo Mourning there?
I don't know which Heat team it was, but it was. They're the first team.
The next one.
To be on both sides of that.
Assuming.
Miami's tough, yeah.
Jimmy Butler, pack up a bag, buddy. Hey, hope you got your vacation spot lined up. Hey, you could.
In the grandiloquent amphitheater of sports discourse, the sagacious Joe Budden and his erudite co-hosts have embarked on a Socratic dialogue, dissecting the recent post-game press conference of the Greek Freak, a sobriquet for the basketball titan, Giannis Antetokounmpo. The crux of their disquisition revolves around the interrogative poser: is the season a failure? A question that has engendered a maelstrom of divergent perspectives, a veritable babel of opinions in the sports world. The first school of thought, a rather draconian perspective, posits that the ultimate barometer of success in the sports arena is the acquisition of the championship laurel. This perspective, a manifestation of the winner-takes-all philosophy, is predicated on the belief that the raison d'etre of any sports endeavor is to emerge as the victor, the undisputed champion, the alpha and omega of the game. However, a counter-narrative exists, a more humanistic perspective that argues that success in sports is not solely contingent on the acquisition of the championship trophy. This perspective, championed by the likes of Joe Budden and his co-hosts, posits that the journey is as important, if not more so, than the destination. It is a perspective that values the process, the incremental improvements, the personal growth, and the development of the team as integral components of success. This perspective, while seemingly antithetical to the championship or bust mentality, is not without its merits. It recognizes that the path to success is often paved with failures, setbacks, and disappointments. It acknowledges that the crucible of competition can serve as a forge for character, resilience, and tenacity, qualities that transcend the confines of the sports arena and permeate all facets of life. The Budden-led consortium also broached the subject of the championship obsession, a phenomenon that has permeated the sports world. They argue that an undue emphasis on the championship can lead to a myopic view of success, a tunnel vision that blinds one to the beauty of the journey, the camaraderie of the team, and the joy of the game. This perspective underscores the importance of passion for the game, a sentiment that is often overshadowed by the glitz and glamour of the championship. It posits that the love of the game, the thrill of competition, and the joy of playing should be the driving forces behind any sports endeavor, not the allure of the championship. The discourse also touched on the role of the media in shaping perceptions of success and failure in sports. The media, with its penchant for sensationalism and hyperbole, often amplifies the championship narrative, creating a culture of expectation and pressure that can be detrimental to the mental health of athletes. In conclusion, the discourse by Joe Budden and his co-hosts serves as a timely reminder of the multifaceted nature of success in sports. It challenges the prevailing championship narrative and advocates for a more holistic view of success, one that values the journey as much as the destination, the process as much as the outcome, and a love of the game as much as the glory of the championship. In the words of the great philosopher, Aristotle, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. Let us, therefore, strive to cultivate a habit of excellence, not just in the pursuit of championships, but in the pursuit of personal growth, team development, and a love for the game.